How's it going, everyone? As you can guess it, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the NT Carb. This is a carburetor that came off of the motor that I'm running right now, lower end. As of right now, we do have the other cylinder on that has a little bit better overall. I believe is going to have overall better performance, has a little bit better casting and all that jazz. I did go ahead and give it the old 1-2 on the cylinder as far as some sanding and all that jazz, but you guys can watch the video on that one later. Maybe I'll figure out how to do all the cool stuff on YouTube. At this point, I have not even made a YouTube channel yet. But, as you know, we're here at Grindel's Garage, about to dive into the NT carburetor. So, as you can see, got a little bit of wear and tear from a mounting issue that I had later on. And you're like, what? How could you fix them like that? What I did is I went on Amazon. I bought this little aluminum cut part. I believe it was about $20. This has saved my bacon. It really has shortened the distance between the cylinder and the carburetor. So basically, you just have a straight shot. What I realized too was I need to port match this. I believe is the correct terminology. Basically, if I take a Dremel and make this the same size of the cylinder, I think it might give you just one little thing. I'm not going to do that now. What I'm going to go ahead and do, maybe you can see on the camera, still rocking the Brave 7. It's pretty shiny, so it's going to be hard to tell, but what I'm going to go ahead and do, and I haven't done it quite hardcore yet, but I'm going to go ahead and take some sandpaper, and I'm going to go ahead and rough that up on the inside, so I can go ahead and create some turbulence, because what happens is this is mounted in to the carburetor. We're doing a bird's eye view right now, so this goes into the carburetor. What's also nice about this actually comes with a built-in O-ring, so as long as that O-ring's right there, it's good to go. So that goes into the carburetor, which then in turn, if we're looking at a bird's eye view, which we are, then the cylinder is going to be right here where my fingers are jiggling. So here's the cylinder, and then your head's going to be on top, sitting right about yonder. Anyway, so what I'm trying to get at is this is going to be the first point of contact where that air and gas mixture. That's totally the wrong thing. I love it. Anyways, here we are. We're back. Camera set. Back to the NT carburetor. A little bit of trivia. Not trivia. If you know what that is, then we're gonna be friends. Anyways, we're talking about this guy right here. We were just talking about taking. We're talking about creating turbulence in this little guy right here by taking sandpaper and go ahead and roughing up those edges. I'm going to go ahead and go way more intense with that. I also talked about doing port matching and maybe widening this up, maybe on the inside with a Dremel, but I don't know, it looks really good. I just think some sandpaper and just really get in there when this is not connected, because you're going to get a lot of flakes, obviously. Take this off, wear a mask. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but these flakes are so small, and if these, for whatever reason, get in your lungs or something, that's just no bueno. So go ahead and put on safety glasses and a mask up for this kind of activity, and then take a vacuum and suck everything up once you're done, and that will really just kind of save you for later issues later on in life. Anyway, this one's complete. This one has a 70 size jet inside of it. Basically what you have, put this guy off to the side, is you have your carburetor. This one has the lower removed. This part right here, I guess you can basically call this kind of a cylinder. This is kind of a cylinder setup, right? Oh, I have that backwards. So basically, I took the two screws off the top. Pretty easy there. What I do know is this is your jet. I think typically from the factory they come with 70 size jets. Do not quote me. So what I did originally with this carburetor earlier was this one right here. I put a 65 in it, and it just was not running very well. So I went ahead and put a 70 size jet, which I guess I can actually show you right here. So I took the old, there we go. So I took the old 70 size jet on top, which is a little bit different configuration than the one on the bottom. The one on the bottom is another little kit that I got off Amazon. I believe that one was like $16, but it came in sets of two, in increments of two. Excuse me, in increments of two. So I really think that's pretty cool. So, anyways, good little investment, especially when you start getting into more of this kind of stuff. I ended up going back to a 70 size jet into this carburetor, which is not the carburetor that I've been typically running with. The reason why I switched it off was because I thought this carburetor with a different gasket was not going to leak, and that was not true. This one leaked like a sieve. So, I digress. Anyways, this one doesn't leak from the last time I ran it, so I went back with this one because I thought it was kind of a cheaper one, and I thought this one looked older, so maybe it'd run better, but it just wasn't the case. So 70 size jet, back to more of a factory setting so I can get a better reading with these jets that I bought. So I at least know I'm kind of running at somewhat of a stock configuration and going from there. So I can get more readings. I can go ahead and take a jet out, move a jet in, and then go in increments of 2 with this kit that I got over here with all these little guys right here, and go ahead and make those different adjustments. But I don't want to do that yet because I am getting a new exhaust pipe at the end or beginning of the month, and some brakes and some like just other stuff, that just the bike needs. And my goal is once the pipe's on there, then we can go ahead, tune and stuff like that, because every single time you manipulate anything, you're going to have to go in and tune. And a lot of people, I at least thought, especially in the beginning, that doesn't really matter until you really start getting into these carburetors. People say they're simple, but they're complex simple. Just like this entire hobby. Complex simple. Learn the terminology, and then you kind of go from there. But I think that's kind of like any hobby, right? Anyways, kind of going back to this NT carb, a lot of people think, at least I did in the beginning, you can really just, turn this screw, which is a tuning screw. Basically, as you turn that screw in, it goes inward. See if I can turn it in really far, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You turn that tuning screw in, I'm sure like the carburetor screw or something like that, you turn that screw in, and as you can see right there, you see that little pin sticking out the top. Now that's going to go ahead and either disrupt airflow, or I think probably more of just create more of a space reduction in the whole housing. I'm going to loosen that up so that spring doesn't get too compressed. I like to keep the springs nice and good, so that way when you're riding on those bicycles, they keep tension on the back. Or keep tension on it, so that way it's not boogalooing. But anyways, it's just a fine tuning, like a super fine tuning. There's only so much you can do with that, and that's just gonna be like, that's a day adjuster sometimes, cold day. So turn it in. We're gonna go ahead and push that pin out right here, and we're gonna just go from there. I keep a little set of picks at all times. I use these for everything: Harbor Freight, Amazon, anything. All right. So once that's off, so just a reminder, this is actually going to be upside down. Okay, so we're talking about upside down, so I'm going to lay it flat, right side up, upside down. Alright, so basically you have this float in your carburetor. You can see hopefully you can see in the video, there's actually a line on the top, and that's where it seals together. From my understanding, you want to keep that upright, because sometimes these floats can get gas in them. I have not heard of that happening really, but it can happen. So if you keep the part that's sealed on top, that will stay above wherever that gas is going to be, or at least keep it so that way it won't ever get gas in there, hopefully. It's always jostling around, so I mean, like, there's only so much you can do. Anyway, so this float goes under this little mechanism, okay, and we're on that pin system right there. That actually goes up into your gas. Your gas connects on the other side of the carb. So now we have this flipped over. And when the float is moving with the bowl obviously attached, when that float is moving up and down because you are using the throttle, okay, As you're pulling back on the throttle, you're taking gas in through all the crazy science, through conduction and flux capacitors and crazy little green men that are in there operating everything. Basically, what happens as that float's going to start to go down as you're pulling in more gas, right? So that's how that regulates that gas. So as that's going up and down, this little hinge system right there, this actual little piece goes up into where the gas comes in, this little tube, and the atom right here, which I guess we can pull that off. And I hope this isn't too blurry. But anyways, we can pull that off, and that actually goes into the gas, and as you accelerate and pull, that goes down and lets more gas in, less gas up as that float levels out. So it's just basically a teeter-totter, up, down, keep going, have fun, never look back, always wear your helmet, all that jazz. So that's how it's simple. You just got to get down to the simple parts, understand how it moves individually, and then understand how it all moves as a system/team. Because teamwork makes the dream work. Another part of this carburetor on the MT, I could go ahead and like take all this stuff apart. I have before in the past just to like learn. Highly recommend doing that. Buy another carburetor. They're like $13, $14, and just take it apart. You know, if the one you have is running great and doesn't leak, just don't touch it. Just run it. Just buy another one and learn from that one. But you can take these pins apart. This pushes down on the float right there. So as that floats up, you push down, and that pushes more gas into the system because that goes down. Right, everything's working together. Pins going down right there. We're getting gas in. I use this just like if it's been sitting for like a week, because I typically will try to ride for a couple. I'll try to like ride for a week and then tinker for a week, ride for a week, and especially with the video making, it's really slowed up the actual bike enjoyment process, which is something to consider if you want to get into, I think, anything with YouTube. I've already noticed it has cut into the actual hobby, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I am starting to get my foot into the video editing side, which I've been enjoying. Anyways, I digress. You start getting into towards the end of your build, that's where I think you mostly want to mess with this, unless you're having issues like legitly at startup, like at the beginning of the build, and maybe you do have to go in and do some jet adjustment. But I think you got to be a little bit top notch and know what you're doing. I have seen LA Hover diagnose his bike that way with, I believe, the Wildcat 80, which is the PK80 version, which I'm very, very heavily leaning on getting because it's in my budget. It falls within our budget, $150 as of filming. So anyways, I can go ahead and put all this back together, but I'm gonna do that later just to save time because I already have this sucker ready to go. So we're gonna stick with a 70 size. All right, let's talk about the old carburetor. So we got the 70 jet. Okay, we're not changing it because I'm not gonna unlock the velocity stack quite yet. Hopefully it's not hindering me. I don't think so, but you never know. Make sure that O-ring's on there, or if you need to put one on there, you can. This one actually has an O-ring on it, which is great, but I wonder sometimes if I put another one on the back, you still have like, it'd be like rubber, you'd like never get that sucker out of there. That's a little tighter fit than I remember. Probably should have put like a little bit of oil on that, but I think this just gets so much oil in it, it doesn't matter. That O-ring is just gonna get saturated. Or if it doesn't get saturated and just like it gets touched, it's gonna seal slowly. It's gonna go into fill its gaps, and then you'll have like a pretty, I think, good seal. That's what I think the benefit of having the O-ring actually embedded into it. So there is that. I don't know if there's like distant bike races where it's just like an endurance race with these, because that would be insane. That would be what I'd be getting into. Alright. So I got the fuel line all the way to the bottom. I'm going to put a little pressure as I tighten up this little gizmo. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching. Grindel's Garage, Screaming Banshee from hell.